We analyzed narrative writing of 10 A-star students in order to understand what made those narratives high scoring. In this video, I'll share with you 4 success tips that A-star students use which directly align with the content and structure rubric of the narrative mark scheme. Are you ready? The IGCSE mark scheme has separate descriptor for content as well as for writing. The top band content descriptor says that the student crafts a well-defined and strongly developed plot in response to the prompt, and he or she uses features of fiction writing such as description, characterization, effective climax with convincing details. Now let's decipher these descriptors. So tip number 1, for a well-defined and strongly developed prompt. Now, most A-star students always write narratives that are very realistic and rooted and grounded in reality, which means they don't really talk about supernatural, science fiction, violence, and not even fairy tales. They also make sure that they have consistently developed a habit to plan their narrative using some competent structure or widely used structures like the story arcs. So planning is a very important habit of the A-star students. They also make sure that there is a deliberate focus on writing an interesting beginning as well as an interesting ending, and some students also present a backstory in their narratives to create that complexity in their narrative and also achieve deliberate effect of a story with past, present and future. The tip number 2 is for the characterization. Now, most A-star students don't complicate their characterizations. They have 2 characters, one is protagonist and another is antagonist. Of course, sometimes they have a third character, but that character is really a minor character. But they make sure that the character's goals are very clear, and so is the motivation behind those goals. The protagonist's emotional vulnerability is also really evident in the form of internal conflict, so the characterization is very well weaved. The tip number 3 is for effective climax. All know that climax must be a place of peak tension. Now, most A-star students achieve this peak tension with a combination of stakes which are tangible and internal conflict, which means that they have in their narrative a stake which is tangible, a do or die, a loss or win, a life and death stake. But they know that just the tangible stake is not going to create tension. So they are really intertwined with a strong sense of internal conflict of the protagonist, which could be his guilt, which could be his dilemma, and combination of the stake and the internal conflict makes a really interesting climax. Fourth success tip is for description and convincing details. Now let's understand these words. The word description implies that writing which creates images and convincing pictures and actions in the reader's mind. Now for this, the A-star students most of the time use descriptive writing techniques to develop their setting and tension. But then what is convincing? Now convincing means, of course, anything has to be convincing. It should be relatable, which means the reader is able to understand and also accept that detail. To give you an example, if I have to develop a character who is old and sharp, if I say that the person is old, is in his 50s, the person is really mean because she wears dark clothes and does not even smile. Now look at this. Is this a convincing portrayal of somebody who is old and mean? Like equating somebody in 50s to be old, first of all, that's not convincing. Secondly, the person is wearing the dark clothes. Now this does not carry any biological markers that signify old age. Let us say if I write it like, years had withered her body, but not her will. She ruled with sharpness that age had not dulled. Now the word withered is a clear age marker. We can clearly see the contrast between the body, that is the appearance, as well as the sharpness of the mind. This, of course, is a more convincing portrayal of this characterization. Now, these tips are really simple. I want you to trust, believe, and rise and shine. Thank you so much. And don't forget to subscribe. Every week, I make videos on IGCSE English Language and Literature. And if you subscribe, you'll be notified when a new video is released.